Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Ritz, and today I am back with three book reviews, three very famous books which I have reviewed this year, and I am really excited to let you know my thoughts. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Hey guys, so I'm back. I wanted to talk about a book which I had very high expectations on, but it really disappointed me a lot. But before I jump into that, I'm really sorry about the messy background. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to set up the background and move to a different room where I actually shoot, because there are some, renovations going on there. So, fine, I'm here and I want to talk about the book that really disappointed me. And I have a lot to say about this book. So the book that I would be talking about is the part 2 of The House in the Cerulean Sea, and it is by T.J. Klune, and it is Somewhere Beyond the Sea. God, this just came out. So it's The House in the Cerulean Seas part 2, and it is called Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune, and I was really having real high expectations from this book, because the part 1 of this book is actually one of the best books that I've read in a long time. Like, it is one of my most favorite books. So I think I'm really disappointed how the part 2 turned out to be. So I'll get on with it. And I know this is a very unpopular opinion, because most of you have loved this book, but this book just did not work out for me. So I think the story starts with Arthur Parnassus. We see a lot of Arthur and his struggles in this book, which I like, by the way. We see the relationship between Arthur and Baker, Linus Baker, grow, which is also something which I absolutely loved, okay? Because I can see the character graphs and I can see how their relationship evolved with, throughout that particular year. Now, the first 25% of the book was absolutely what I was expecting. It was fabulous. It was bang on. I loved it. So Arthur has been called by Dikomi, and he is, putting a case forward where he can adopt all these children, and he can be the father, legal father of these children. But I think Dikomi is completely on a different level, and they are like, Arthur is actually trying to recruit army for himself. Now, this whole book, okay, so the first 25% was good, and then the rest of the book really felt a repetition of book 1. That was one thing. It really felt like, I was expecting the Dikomi to do something different this time, rather than sending again another inspector who is just, it feels like a fan fiction where you just see that, what would have happened if Linus Baker didn't turn out to be the way he turned out to be in the first book. What if he was evil? So that is what happened in this book. The inspector was absolutely foul, and I didn't like her at all. So it is just that it is a repetition of the same things, but only in a with a different outcome. Now, apart from that, this book felt tremendously preachy due to some reason. I don't know why. Everything is a repetition of book 1 with preachy format. I don't know why that happened. I really don't know. I mean, the first book literally felt very natural. It felt very, very natural humor. Now, T.J. Klune did an amazing job in the first book to represent the LGBTQA community. And I really don't understand the necessity of being so preachy in this book. So this book was tremendously preachy, and for God knows for what reason. He did an amazing job in the first book where everything felt so natural, all the problems that this community is facing, and how he wants to represent that community. It was amazingly natural, but this book felt so forced. This book felt tremendously forced, and I felt like, he had this desperate need. He felt like, he's desperately in need of, getting the approval of people and making people understand. I do understand where he comes from, and my whole heart goes out to his community. But this made this book not work out so well. This preachiness, this forced preachiness did not work out for me that well. Also, I think he dedicated this book to the trans community. Okay, so his dedication goes to the transgenders, and in this book I didn't find one major character who is trans. There was one character, I think, which was a very small character, and it just passed with a blink of an eye. And apart from that, I don't think I did find any transgender represented in this book. And why is that? If you're dedicating a book to transgender community and you're telling them that they are seen, you guys are seen, you guys are not left out, then what just happened? Why is there not a single trans main character in your book? I'm not talking about your past books, I'm talking about this particular book, because this book is the one you're dedicating them to. So I don't know why that happened. I was expecting David, the character David, to be trans, maybe come out as trans, but no, it didn't happen. So yeah, that's there. Also, I have a huge problem with his author's note. I might get a backlash, and that is the reason why I think I'm not going to, just for the peace of my mind, I'm going to disable the comments for this video, because I might get a backlash for speaking out my mind. So he dedicates this author's note and talks about his legacy that he wants to keep behind, and the legacy being anti-JK Rowling legacy. Why anti-JK Rowling? Because of the comment she made on the trans? Why are you giving it so much importance? Just don't. Because I do understand there are lots of people like JK Rowling who do not understand what the transgenders are going through. But why do you want to keep a legacy on something so negative? Anti-JK Rowling, why are you giving that woman so much importance if you think that whatever she's talking is complete crap? Rather, you can keep a legacy of, pro-LGBTQ or pro-transgenders. Something like that, right? Something pro your community. Why do you have to take that much time in thinking about a woman who commented on something way back in her life which she is not also going to remember? Okay. Firstly, that understand this, I am not against this community. I have so many friends who belong from this community, and I have high respect for them. But she has her own opinion, and she is allowed to keep forward her opinion. We might agree, we might disagree, and move on in life. It's as simple as that. That is my opinion. Again, it's not my legacy, it's his legacy. He and his opinions does matter, and I do understand. That is the reason why this book didn't work. Also, the first 25% of the book which I liked is so similar to Harry Potter. That whole thing where he was sitting in front of the dichotomy, and there were so many judges in front of him, and he was being continuously scrutinized. That gave me a clear impression of the scene of Harry Potter where Harry goes through this. Look at that champ over there. So, what was I saying? I just lost my thought. Yeah. So, it really gave me the impression of that scene of Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix, where Harry is being called by the Ministry of Magic, and he's sitting in front of Fudge and explaining what happened and why it happened. And it felt tremendously similar. So if you're so anti-JK Rowling, why does your book sound so similar? I don't know. I was so disappointed. I absolutely loved the characters of the children. Absolutely loved Lucy, Talia. I think Chauncey was really shining bright in this book, and he was so funny. He made me laugh so much, and my heart goes out to those children. It's so nice when the children were in the book and we were talking about only the children and their conversation and their mindless conversation of killing someone or doing something. But I think somewhere down the line it all fell short because it was all a repetition and it was all a bit too forced. And I'm so sorry for this review, but it is a channel for honest reviews, and I'm not going to follow the trend saying that I loved this book. The first book, definitely one of my favorite books. I am going to make my child read that book, and I am so proud of that book that it talks about so many important things. But here, this one was, I think it was not needed. So that being out of the way, let's talk about another book, which is We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. And this book guys, I have devoured this book in a day. I loved this book. This is such a fast-paced book. This is first, let me tell you, this is a brand new series by Richard Osman, who is the author of the Thursday Matter Club. And this book is so damn good, guys. Like, it's very short chapters. It's very so obviously it's very fast paced and it's very interesting. It really keeps you hooked till the very end. And so this book deals with a security company where clients, especially influencers, are dropping dead at a drop of a hat, and mysterious bag of money, like a lot of money, is found near the crime scenes, like all the crime scenes. And also there is this bodyguard of this security company, Amy Wheeler, who is short-haired and who is, you know, very grumpy and less emotional and a bit psychopathical. She's being framed for all the murders, but she obviously hasn't committed the crime. Now she takes help of her father-in-law, who is Steve Wheeler, an ex-policeman, and they try to find out who is trying to kill Amy and frame her. And this book is so good, guys. Steve is my favorite character. I loved Steve. It's like, you know, Steve gives me the grandpa vibe, the ones with, you know, shaving every day, gives, you know, whenever you go near them, you smell of cigar or strong aftershave. And, you know, like old man, he's an old man, but a strong old man. I could somehow smell Steve. I mean, that's a bit weird, smelling characters, but you know, it's like in my hair I could really smell Steve a lot, and I loved Steve's character. And the equation between the daughter-in-law and the father-in-law is amazing. I am so happy that, you know, someone wrote about a good relationship between the in-laws. I mean, that's really good. I loved it. And you know, there's this third character called Rosie D'Antonio, and she is a very famous author and also has won an Oscar for cinematography or something. I forgot, but she is an Oscar winning author, and she is the money behind you know, these two, who is helping them to fly across nations in her private jet. And it's so fast paced. The plot is so good, and I absolutely loved it. If you love fast paced thrilling novels where people are running from one place to another, and you know, there are lots of layers in the crime, then this book is definitely the one you should go out for. And I absolutely loved it. Gave it a 5-star, guys. So the last book that I would be talking about is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, and this book is so good, guys. So I have recently ventured into the world of Lisa Jewell, and the first book that I read was None of This Is True by her, and that really knocked me off. It was a solid 5-star book, and I absolutely loved it. But now let's come back to The Family Upstairs. This is my second book of Lisa Jewell, and I must tell you, I'm a fan of this author. I'm not a fan, basically I'm a stan, I can say, because this book also turned out to be great. Yeah, with Lisa Jewell book is that after you read 80% of the book, you get to know that the story is completely different. So the last 20% is the actual story, and the first 80% of the book is like completely different. And this happened with me in the first book, None of This Is True. This happened with me in this book as well. 80% of the book was completely different, and then the last 20% blew my mind. It absolutely works every time, I guess, when it's Lisa Jewell and her way of writing. Loved it. The characters are so twisty. The house is so twisty. The way these people used to live is so twisty. Oh my god, it really twisted my mind. Now let's talk about the summary of the story. So there's this particular family who are socialites and have come from old money and lives in Chelsea, has a big mansion in Chelsea, and they're rich. Okay, suddenly a guest appears in their house, and that guest slowly and steadily throughout the years take control over the house, over the financial decisions of the family and everything in between. And how that changes the chemistry, the balance inside the house between the owners and the guests. It's amazing. It was really mind-boggling. Now let's talk about the character graphs are awesome. If you like understanding character graphs, I think this book is one of them, where you can see stark difference from the start of the characters, from the start of the book till the end of the book. The character graphs of each and every character is good. Also, if you want some really psychological thriller, really good psychological thriller, highly recommend this book, because my god, this book blew my mind, and thank god it has got a part 2. It has, I think, the family remains is the next part of this book, which I'll definitely read, because right now my mind is hung up there, and I'm completely strung up there, where I didn't understand, like, my god, what just happened, like, what is going to happen now. And it's amazing. So this couple who owns this house in Chelsea is really rich, comes from old money, and are socialites, and suddenly a guest appears on their doorstep, and once he enters, he never leaves, and he starts taking control of the house slowly and steadily. And how he does that, how he manipulates people, it's about that. Now we also see that how everything changes, and after years of staying together, suddenly the owners have decided to commit suicide. And the owners, which is Mr. and Mrs., I don't remember their name, Lamb, I think, Mr. and Mrs. Lamb, they commit suicide along with an unknown person in the table, and they have written a suicide note saying that they have a child upstairs, and who needs to be taken care of. And the police finds out that there is this child, a 2-year-old child, in her cot, and she is a happy child. She is well taken care of. Someone changed her nappy, and someone kept her well fed till the body was found. Now, who did that? Who took care of the child? And it was a mystery unsolved, because if it was a suicidal pact, if the cult actually committed suicide and none of the other children are to be found, then who took care of the child left alone? So this is what the book is about, and it is going to really blow your mind if you are looking for some twisty novel. I'm so glad these are true. Where were you my entire life? I got to know about you after none of this is true, and thank god I did. My life is a better place with you in it and your books in it. So yeah, this is a highly recommended book. I gave it, I think, 4.5 stars. The only reason why I didn't give it a 5-star is that I did not understand why someone would give all their rights to a guest, to a stranger, and live in their own house like a servant. I really don't know. That is something which I really didn't vibe with. But apart from that, once you move on from that point, once you move forward, I think this book is excellent. Loved it. So yes, those were my 3 book reviews. I hope you enjoyed them. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you did. Bye.